Welcome back to another episode of Extreme. My name is Zach.
And my name is Adam.
And Joey's not here today.
Well, wait a minute. I feel like I'm somewhat responsible for this while he's gone.
What did you do?
A few weeks ago on the podcast, I said something that I really regretted, that Joey's album, that when it drops, it should drop from a 20-story window, and that his music is for meth babies.
Okay.
And Joey, he hasn't been back since. He got in his car. He's been living out of it like Jewel, actually.
No kidding.
He's been under the overpass playing to meth heads. And Joey, if you're listening, we miss you. Come on home, little feller.
Yeah, Joey, if you're out there listening to this somewhere, underneath that overhead pass, just want to let you know that you gotta come on home now. Everyone misses you. But Joey Jew, your music doesn't sound like it's just for meth heads. You just, I don't know, sometimes it kinda does, but that's okay. Joey Jew, because in black this is you, but in completely platonic way. Joey
My goodness.
But
what a selfless man.
I know. And you know what, Joey? I want to say it could use a little bit of an improvement. I think you should have, when you had the chance, you should have invited one of the world's famous MCs to guest star on your album, MC Escher. But you didn't. And instead he went on to make the video game that we're going to talk about today.
Look at you grabbing the steering wheel and trying to move the conversation.
Woo!
Master of segues over here.
Yeah.
Adam Furman from space.
Yeah. Check out that galactic segue.
That was a beautiful little intro there. But yes, we are without Joey today, but that's fine. We're going to be doing a one-off today, just talking about this indie game that came out in 2013 called The Bridge. The Bridge.
Le Bridge.
Apparently where Joey's living now.
Yes, Joey lives under this bridge. Yeah.
This exact bridge.
This is actually really coming together so far.
You sound surprised.
I'm shocked.
You don't give us enough credit. Surprisingly enough, we do write one or two things down.
Yeah, no, it's working out.
No, but literally, I wrote the words one or two things. That's it. That's all I wrote down. Nothing else. Let's see how the rest of this goes.
All right.
So, The Bridge. Let's just jump right into it. So, The Bridge was released on Xbox Live Arcades in November 13th, 2013. Funnily enough, it was released on Windows PCs earlier that year, February 22nd, 2013.
How'd they do this on a PC, though?
What do you mean? How did they do it on a PC?
I'm just thinking of, the different, game controllers. Because you're, when we're going to get into, the mechanics of it, you're flipping around the puzzle to solve it. I don't see how you would be able to do that well on a PC.
You don't need a ton of buttons to do this. You just need,
Don't tell me what you need or don't need. I know what I need.
You're right. I'm not the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild who developed this game, so I wouldn't know one way or another what goes into this game. Aboosh! We're 3 for 3 for segues. I was looking up, actually, other games that the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild made. By the way, that's a fucking mouthful of a name.
I thought you just made that up.
Nope, that is the name of the developer.
Quantum Astrophysicists Guild.
That is the name of the development studio. Apparently it's 3 people, so that makes sense.
All right, it's a throuple. That's good to know.
And they made nothing that I've heard of. No offense to the Quantum Astrophists. I mean, they're a small indie development studio. I wouldn't expect them to be making out all this crazy shit.
Right. Are they still around?
Yeah, they're still making games. This game came out only 2013. 6 years ago.
Yeah, they got some... It looks like they mostly focus on, puzzle games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of their games could be easily translated to, apps based on how they design it. Honestly, The Bridge probably could be on the App Store. I didn't actually check and see if it is, but I could see it very easily translating to the App Store, just based on the mechanics that they have in here.
That could be pretty cool. You would just, flip around the phone, maybe.
Well, I mean, they have the gyroscope in the phones anyway, so why don't you just use that and then have it move the puzzle? So,
oh, good news! Good news! They got some job openings out in Seattle, Washington.
Oh boy! If I was anywhere near there, and had any experience being a game developer,
there you go.
And wanted to not have enough money to support my mortgage.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about the game developers.
I thought you said it's the fun thing about growing up and having responsibilities.
That too.
But yeah, I think if I'm remembering correctly, they had 6 games that they developed.
Something like that.
So this isn't a bad game. Yeah. I don't want to preface this by making it sound like it's a bad game that's really simple. No, it's a very good game. The puzzle mechanics themselves are simplistic because the controls are simplistic. Where you, like we had alluded to before, you rotate the world to move your protagonist through it to get to the door.
You rotate my world, Zach.
I mean, I already knew that, but that happens most days regardless of whether or not I'm even trying.
Right.
I flip it upside down, and then I give it another flip so we're back up, and then I kick it all the way downfield. In
the words of Missy Elliott, you flip it and then you reverse it, right?
And then I lay down, twerk it, and reverse it, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then it's your Furman yet.
They should have called the game studio that, actually. That has more of a ring to it. The Furman
The Furman yet.
That sounds like something that's going to win a lot of awards.
Developed by Studio Fremen yet.
That sounds like a sponsor.
Sounds like a Nordic development studio.
From yet? It might actually be. I think, that would make sense. I'm gonna Google it if I could spell it.
I don't think anybody knows that. If you know how to spell Fremen yet, please send us an email at itstheextreme@gmail.com. That's ITSTHEXSTREAM@gmail.com. How do you spell Fremen yet?
We're already getting emails. This is crazy.
You know what's crazy? The fact that we're almost 8 minutes in, we've barely talked about this game.
All right, there's a bridge, and you spin some things. I think we got it. We're done for the day.
So, actually, genuinely didn't get to see the bridge. Because didn't have time to beat the whole game. Because life is hectic sometimes, you guys. But, so you rotate the world to get the protagonist to a door, and that's the basic premise of the game. You just need to maneuver. I don't know. Did the protagonist have a name? I'm just calling him protagonist.
No. So, yeah, I don't think he has a name whatsoever. I could never tell. Is he wearing a hat?
I don't know.
Or does he have hair? He always looks like he's wearing a sleeping cap.
I don't know. It's it's hard to really tell because of the art style. It's very aesthetic, black and white drawn style, where you draw the outline of a character first, and then you would color it in and do all the finishing details. But
which
instead of all that, they just stopped.
Which is I really did enjoy that part of it, where like at the beginning of each puzzle, it shows like how he's like being drawn into it. Like for some reason, that was very appealing to me.
It's an interesting concept, and I like the idea of it.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand how it fits in the world dynamic. Because
yeah.
I mean, granted, the whole game is just a giant mindfuck.
Well, like if they were, I don't know. I feel like maybe it has to do, because it's heavily based on like MC Escher. I feel like maybe it has to do with like how he was sketching stuff.
I think it's about time that we bring in that factoid. That's a big big sticking point of the game. It's heavily influenced by
sticky.
MC Escher,
super sticky,
the master of ceremonies, Escher.
Was that? Yeah, he had a very long rap career.
Mm-hmm.
Started in the 80s.
He was rapping about mathematics basically all the time.
Rapped about mathematics, and yeah.
And Bernoulli's pattern. Is that a thing? Is that a math thing?
Is that... Oh, I think you know it. Is that the
you know what I'm getting at?
Yet pattern?
It's from the Frumanupanumpa. Paul, if you're listening to this and you're judging me because I got it wrong, fuck you.
Yeah, man, you can't curse at Paul. He lives in Toronto now. He knows where you live.
I can go curse at him in person now. Anyway, so this game is just a mindfuck because it tries to emulate an MC Escher painting in a two-dimensional game space, which is interesting, but trying to understand how to navigate an MC Escher painting in a two-dimensional space is so convoluted. There's so many different...
Pulling out the big words there, aren't we?
I'm sorry, I have to. I mean, I feel like I have to be more highfalutin for MC Escher.
Ooh.
This is where I get the Book of the Sword. That's where I get my thesaurus out.
You're the Thesaurus Rex here.
I'm just... Thesaurus Rex. Fuck. You know what? We're going to take a quick break on that. Because... I need to go apologize to every single person individually who listens to our podcast. Give me a moment. I'll be with you shortly.
Come see Zach Witter like you've never experienced him before. Live for one night only in the Toronto Mirvish Theatre. Come see his one-man Broadway show, From Nappanyam Yet.
Let me lay down, twerk it, and reverse it. It's your Fremenupinen yet.
Critics are calling it the most critically acclaimed thing in the history of critic acclamation, saying that it's both convoluted, highfalutin, in other words that Zach sometimes uses.
I went and saw the show yesterday, and I had no idea what was going on. I loved it.
She saw it yesterday, and she loved it. From Nappanyam Yet, get your tickets today.
I loved it. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry. Perfect. All right, I went through everybody. And we're back.
Really? Only 4 people listen to this show?
Well, I think
That's
I might
all
be...
you had to apologize to?
I think I might be overestimating.
It's Paul and your parents and Joey, if you're out there listening under this bridge.
Please come home.
Come on home, little feller.
Anyway, let's talk more about the bridge. So, like I said before, these puzzles are kind of mindfucky. So, my main problem... is it's not really a problem. It's just hard to understand depth-based puzzles in a two-dimensional environment.
Especially if you have no depth perception.
Especially if it's a flat surface. So that's the problem. Well, I get that it's supposed to be mindfucky because it's an MC Escher, but like it's hard as a game player for someone who's new to kind of quickly grasp what is and is not something that you can stand on, or is something that you can walk through, or is a bridge that you can move forward with. It's just,
Right.
it's hard to, especially when it's not really conveyed that well.
Well, I mean, it's because it's all about like shifting like your perspective on it, but there's no way to really figure out where like a path that you could like shift on until you are actually like moving something around in it. If that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying. You can't just look at it and see like a solution all the time.
Like, I get it. It's supposed to be a puzzle, and it's supposed to take time to figure out. But the problem is when you need to figure out that something that was previously not a part of the world becomes a part of the world by shifting it. When it's just shifting in one of the spaces, not the third dimension, only the second. It's hard to really say whether or not this is something that I can interact with. But it's not.
Yep.
But the problem isn't that that's the bad thing. The problem is that it's not conveyed. It's not told to me as the player. I have to kind of just assume that maybe that'll work. But
like what? You need MC Escher to like tell it to you, like straight up?
I mean, it would be kind of cool if they had interviews with him interspersed.
Yeah, that would be.
But that's my real main problem with it, is it's very obtuse just because of the way the puzzles are laid out.
Right. I mean, it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's definitely an experience.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's a puzzle game. I get it. It needs to be hard. I just wish in the beginning there was more conveyance of how the world works.
Right. I mean, that's what, like a tutorial?
Yeah, not even like a tutorial.
Normally, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't find you as a tutorial guy.
It's not really a tutorial. I wouldn't say like I want.
No, Zach needs his tutorial.
Like a tutorial. I wanted to.
He needs a tutorial spoon-fed to him, and got to put on his tutorial bib.
All right,
got to get each spoonful of tutorial up in there.
Let me give you a little crash course on what conveyance is here, young man. So, sit back. Let me give you a quick overview.
Yeah, let me get comfy.
Get comfy. Move your...
Let me get some conveyance music. I think this is the traditional.
Where did you get that popcorn? All right. Okay. That seems a bit
good. All right.
Overkill, but... Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just turn on the educational video here, and then we'll explain what conveyance is. Howdy, boys and girls! It's me, Conveyance Boy, here to teach you about conveyance! And hopefully not blow out the microphone. So, you're wondering what conveyance is? Well, you came to the right boy. Let me give you a quick little example. In one of my favorite games, the Mega Man X games, is chock full of conveyance right out the start. One of the bigger ones is when you fall into a pit and you can't get out, but you realize very soon that you can glide down the wall, and it slows down and gives you a moment to realize that you can interact with the wall. Oh my goodness, can I do something while I'm on the wall? Yes, you can, young man. You can wall jump. Oh my goodness, I can wall jump. You can wall jump. And that, my friends, is conveyance.
Conveyance. Yeah.
Man, I really have to switch out these tapes. I got like the old version, like the 1960s version.
No. I think it was the 80s version because it had the Ferris Bueller chicka chicka at the end.
Oh, that's fair. The update didn't really do much.
That's how you tell. That's where the chicka chicka comes in.
Gotcha.
Versus the non-chicka chicka.
So did that make...
Of course, versus the from Nyap Yam Yet.
Did that make any kind of sense to you, or should I...
I wasn't listening
Should I re-explain? Did Conveyance Boy do a good job?
All right, we're going to go through it again. Yeah.
We're not getting Conveyance Boy back. He's done. He's tired.
No?
I actually broke the VHS in half, and we actually can't watch Conveyance Boy anymore. I'm so sorry.
That's going to be a real... That's terrible for our listeners.
I'll give it to the game. There is some conveyance, specifically with the ball, the ball movement puzzles. They kind of
are you referring to the Menace?
I am. Those weird balls with faces. Are they called the Menai?
The Menai,
Menaces?
the weird balls with faces. Sounds a bit like your balls with a face on it.
Hey, that was my secret to you. How dare you tell the entire world about it? I never trust you with anything anymore.
I had to tattoo them on, so.
So let's keep talking about the game, though. So there's a little bit of conveyance in that you see the ball, you see a hole for the ball, and you need to get the ball in the hole. Fair enough. There are points when it's conveyed well. But again, I think by the virtue of the medium that they've chosen here for their art style, being MC Escher, it's going to be hard regardless, because it's like trying to navigate a Salvador Dali painting and saying, like, hey, figure out how to jump through this. It's like, what? I don't understand. Gravity keeps changing, and then the directions are reversed sometimes, and I don't know. Trying to apply logic to paintings that don't really have that kind of logic.
Well, so the funny thing is, and here, let me get my pretentious hat on.
Oh, please.
On the pretentious music.
Holy shit. That's such a big hat.
It's the same as the conveyance music. Wow, I had no idea.
What are the odds of that one?
There we go. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, MC Escher actually used 3 gravity wells in his paintings.
Wow, huh.
There you go.
That's an interesting tidbit. I didn't realize that he was so...
It's a good one.
I didn't know that he was so astrophysically inclined.
Well, I don't know if maybe he knew what he was doing, kind of like that. But yeah, there's like 3 or 4 different gravity wells in his pictures or something, and that's why like the perspectives look kind of weird. Like that's why you never like understand like what you're looking at. So there you go.
Today you learned.
That based off of nothing but Wikipedia research.
There you go. By the way,
outdated Wikipedia research too. What I looked at it 10 years ago. Yeah.
Well, how much more information could we glean about MC Escher that we don't already know? Did new information come to light in 2019 about Escher? While you're thinking about that, let me explain the controls of this game. So we mentioned before that you can actually you can use the bumpers. For me, I was on the Switch, so I did L or ZR to rotate the stage. But funnily enough, it's also enabled by default? The gyroscope controls.
The second, funnily enough, you used today.
Are you keeping tally?
I keep track of.
You keep track of them?
Yeah, I keep tracks for each, funnily enough, used.
And you put them on the floor and like masochistically walk over them every time I do it, or something?
Yep, that's. I just tack on a funnily enough.
That was it. That was me dying. That was my death rattle because of that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
you
really threw me off with what you were talking about. But
that's why I'm here on the show.
Both of the control schemes are enabled as default on the Switch. So the thing is, I don't always hold my controller at exactly like the perfect angle so it doesn't move. So I didn't realize at first that it was on. So for me, some of the puzzles just kept tilting and moving and rotating without me doing anything. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I realized as soon as I shifted my hand that it stopped. And I'm like, oh, why are these both on by default? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I could see that as a bit of a mind fuck there.
It's a bit. I thought it might have been part of the style, and it was just like, oh, Escher really liked to flip his paintings around.
I feel like this gameplay though sometimes like it really it gives me like vertigo.
Yeah,
like when it's not a game recommended for vertigo.
No, it's also not a game recommended for this protagonist because genuinely I don't see why he's in it. You could have replaced him with a ball of goo and it would have served the same function.
Right, because I don't think he might be in an Escher picture somewhere.
Maybe, but I mean, it could have literally been anything. Because the protagonist doesn't do anything. I mean, you can move them left and right, but there's no point in moving them left and right because there's no fall damage, so you may as well just rotate the entire painting.
That, because I noticed that one of these where, like, you can fall off of, like, some gigantic tree or something and nothing happens to you, but I don't know. I thought that might have been, like, a cool thing to add, like, some sort of, like, damage type of thing,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because at that point, if they had fall damage, that makes a little more sense to maybe have the human character. But at this point, it may as well just be, like, a ball.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't need to be a person. It could have been something esoteric that you were, like, navigating through this puzzle.
Ooh, like another GRE word.
Like a bug or something. Because from what I understand, here's my little tidbit about MC Escher. From what I understand, a lot of his earlier work was, oh, okay, we have music again.
It's the MC Escher music.
Is this the MC Escher music? So a lot of his earlier works were around nature and around bugs and things like that.
Ah, right, yeah.
So that might have been interesting to see. Maybe you have like a bug be the main character.
That would have been cool. I think he called those earlier works, I think they were lithographs.
Interesting.
I want to say, yeah.
You know what?
I think they were made of wood.
We haven't really talked about this, but you know a lot about MC Escher.
I do.
You actually were planning on making an MC Escher video game, if I remember correctly.
Hilariously enough, funnily enough, as we say here on the show, I was interested in making a MC Escher game. And, it took a while. It was a fun time creating the proposal, and that's why I have some of these lovely tidbits for you today. But unfortunately, the proposal didn't evolve into anything.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you trying to jump between a lot of different styles of game.
Yeah, I mean, it's very... I mean, like, figuring out an MC Escher game was pretty tough. And I actually think they did a good job of making this as, like, a good, like, puzzle game.
Yeah.
It's really tough to do, like, a 2D perspective. And that's why, like, when you brought this game up, I was like, wow, they did a great... they did a cool job with it. With, being very imaginative. I'm not surprised. I think they won, like, an Indie Gamer Award or something for it.
I mean, that would make sense.
If I'm not mistaken.
Like, I'm being very hard on it because I'm very hard on everything. Because I want all the things to be the best versions of themselves that they can be. Not because I'm an asshole. Much to people's chagrin.
I thought we were doing, like, a little bit of a good cop, bad cop kind of scenario, you know?
What
like,
cop did you think you were? You're agreeing with everything I'm saying.
I didn't agree with. I was telling them that I think they very much deserve the reward that they got, and you're still like beating them under like the light, and it's like swinging around, and the quantum physics guild is just tied to the chair, at the mercy of Zach.
Look, I
Confess!
just want everyone to be the best versions of themselves. And if that means I have to lay down some harsh truths, then so be it.
You're like the gruff cop that's been on the force for 25 years beating up games.
I've seen my fair share of good games and bad games.
This game's got no conveyance.
Damn it, you could have been something good with you. You could have made something of yourself.
Why couldn't you be more like Mega Man?
Look at Mega Man out there. He's running for president.
I couldn't do it, Zach. I can't be your Mega Man.
Everyone could be my Mega Man if they tried hard enough. You just didn't try hard enough. Okay, this is getting dark.
That's game brutality there.
That's some real pain, Vance.
That's...
Anyway, got really off track there. So yeah, what was I'm curious for our listeners. How was it trying to come up with a game for MC Escher?
It was. I mean, it was definitely like pretty grueling because like you'll have all of these great ideas for it because like honestly the concepts are pretty endless. And most of them like would flow towards some sort of puzzle game, but you're kind of constrained because you got to find some sort of developer that's able to put those ideas like into action, and that is just like a huge process in its own. Because you could have a great like proposal, but you could shop through developers that have no idea how to do it. You could find some that could do it, but would require like a huge budget. I mean, I was talking to one where like they only had one programmer really that they would be able to devote to it. And I just saw, in my head that it was going to take a really long time to get that like developed with like one programmer.
Yeah.
That's why I think like the way they did it with a small agile team just working on it itself was probably like a good way to go.
Yeah.
But
and I mean
the
way that the puzzles are set up, it's their own each world is its like own self-enclosed environment. So it doesn't need to be dependent on the thing after it or before it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they did also a good job with like the main character where he just kind of slides around like according to like the rotation. And I think the one that I looked at was actually having him walk through it, which was like pretty damn difficult to like get that to happen. So like having the environment itself, like what I'm trying to say is like probably like the best way to go to make this happen.
Right. And again, just because we say some bad things about the game doesn't mean it's a bad game. I would recommend playing it. It's a short and sweet, like 2-hour game to finish. And I mean, it's actually on sale right now on the eShop for the Switch at least for $4. So
that's a deal.
It's a pretty good deal. It's like a fucking coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah. Go out there and support an indie game developer by getting the bridge.
Yeah, I always want to support indie developers.
Yeah.
Which is why, I mean, I like this game, but I think if they had a second chance to redo a few of the things about maybe like easing players in with a little bit more conveyance in the early stages, that would probably make it a lot more approachable. And probably bring in more players and maybe find a way to distinguish through the art style what can and cannot be interacted with when the painting moves.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very happy that this podcast had some learnings and some feelings towards the end of this. It didn't just divulge into a bunch of like zoo noises like it normally does. I think we're growing up.
I mean, shit. Who let the monkey out? We were so close.
Oh, no.
Fucking get back in your cage. Oh, fuck. All right. Do we have to call it soon? Okay. All right. I think we've done enough for today. Jesus. Thank you guys so much for listening.
We gotta get these animals back in the zoo.
Can you go start putting them away while I do the outro?
All right.
Start trying to wrangle them. I'll do the outro. All right. Thank you guys so much for...
the monkey.
Jesus.
It's learning.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to...
It's getting on the elephant.
Oh, God. If you want to get in touch with us, our email address is itstheextreme@gmail.com. That's itsthextream@gmail.com. Feel free to email us anytime. We'll be up with a new game next week.
Coming for you.
No,
it's coming.
Oh, shit. Okay, we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.